I'd like to call this meeting of the Board of Education for the School District of Baraboo to order for Monday, November the 14th, 2016, with roll call. Mr. Cummings.
Here.
Mr. Coleman.
Here.
Mr. McNevin.
Here.
Mr. Meering.
Here.
Ms. Riley. Here. Mr. Vedro. Here. And Vodak here. Continue with the pledge. The pledge is to your right, my left. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of the last board meeting, October the 24th, as printed.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Coleman, seconded by Cummings. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Minutes thus approved. Correspondence, I have none. I have not been made aware of any other board member correspondence. There was correspondence included in your board packet. That's in regards to the school start time, and
I have a few more.
I will turn to Dr. Miller.
I received a communication Sunday from Julie Underwood. She represents the Wisconsin Alliance for Excellent Schools, and they're soliciting district participation. I will pass this around for all of you to read. And I look forward to your feedback, I guess, in terms of how you'd like to proceed or if we'd like to make this a board agenda item for the future. Also, this week is American Education Week, so I encourage you to take time to show your appreciation to all of our staff. And lastly, as you leave tonight, over on the table where Ellen is, you want to wave, Ellen, so everybody sees where you're at. We have 4 awards there that Miss Christina Beam won as a representative of our school district at the Wisconsin School Public Relations Association Conference. So we're very thrilled, and we'll add that to the wall of other communication plaques that we have over here to keep growing.
Could you include this correspondence by email?
Absolutely, will do.
Thank you.
That's
Anything
all.
else? Brings us to the portion of the agenda entitled Public Viewpoints. Is there anyone here for public viewpoints tonight? Any public viewpoints? Any public viewpoints? Hearing none. And before we move to number 4, I just would like to welcome everybody to our new administrative office building at 423 Lynn Street in Baraboo, as far as the mail is concerned. West Baraboo, as far as the locals are concerned. The configuration of the places is a work in progress, so we'll see how this goes with the screen behind us and chairs out there. And if anybody has any suggestions to make it any better, feel free to bring those recommendations forth. We'll certainly take them into consideration moving forward. Brings us then to, yes?
We'll order a flag and stand.
We will definitely have a full-size flag.
Is there thought to have board meetings in this facility?
Yes. Brings us then to staff student community recognition. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Miller.
Yes, and I'm happy to have Nola Pastor here. She is here representing the Hope House. Nola, come on up. And Nola is fairly new to the community. I'll let you share a little bit about yourself in a second. But at Hope House, she has been able to work through a grant process that's collaborative between the school district and Hope House to provide a lot of services to our students and staff. And most recently, we have Empower Baraboo. So you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, I'm so that I'm honored to be here. It's been really enjoying and privilege for me to get to know Baraboo, and I feel like everyone at the district and the schools and the community in general have been so supportive and so welcoming to me. So on behalf of Hope House, we really appreciate your partnership, and I just think that really shows how committed this community is and how committed the school system is here to doing this work. So thank you. So the grant that funds my position is a rape prevention and education grant. It comes from the CDCs and through our state coalition against sexual assault, and then to Hope House. And we're looking, focusing in on Baraboo High School, and looking at a few specific risk factors for sexual violence that include gender-based and homophobic harassment, a culture that tolerates and glorifies violence, sexual entitlement and misperceptions of consent, and the hypersexualization of youth. And so I'm happy to tell everyone more about some more ways that we're hoping to do that. We're looking at staff training around bystander intervention, promoting LGBTQ inclusivity at the high school level, working with athletics. There's a teens and theater group that wants to collaborate on a script. continuing to do education and health classes around healthy relationships and consent. So those are some brief highlights, but I also know that you all know the community and know the schools and the students, so I'm really open to ideas about what you think is the best way to approach this, and I'm happy to answer questions as well.
Thank you. And Glenn, I know that Nola's been in your building. Do you want to share anything?
Well, she's presented to our staff and introduced herself and talked about all of these things and more, and she's really working diligently with subgroups to help get the word out about what this grant is about, so that we can have it organically find ways into different aspects of what we're already doing in the building to support those different initiatives, a different kind of even a curriculum that is already taking place. So I think that's part of the magic of this. There's a lot of places where this will naturally fold into in our curriculum and what we're already doing as a building.
Definitely, and like you were saying about the Empower Baraboo Committee, I should add that another big piece of this work is facilitating the advisory committee, which at this point is many students from the high school and really student-led, which is really exciting. But there are staff who are involved and community members, including Doug, so that's really exciting as well. And our second large group meeting of the school year is tomorrow, actually, at 6:15 in the Baraboo High School Library. So if you know of anyone who's interested, we always welcome new members as well, and I'm really excited to see what will come out of that committee too.
Yeah, and I just, not a question or a comment, but just a comment, even the Boys and Girls Club, I know you're reaching out, and she's already working with our teen girls, and so it's been a big benefit with all of our students, both during the class time and then after school too. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. It's really been a joy.
You're a great ambassador for this collaboration between our school district and Holt House, and we're just thankful that you're here and doing this great work, and it's challenging work, so I appreciate it very much.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah, here you go.
Brings us next to item 5, continuous school improvement, and I will turn to Dr. Scott to update us on our continuing efforts to provide mental health services for our students and families.
All right, so I wanted to come before you tonight and just kind of give you an update on all of the amazing things that we have in place to help support not only the mental health of our students, but our staff as well. So if you remember from the staff perception survey that was done last spring, one of the top identified priorities was increasing student social and emotional needs, as well as the impact that we were seeing on a daily basis of the mental health issues that our students were bringing into class with them. I also included some historical data, ODRs, which stands for Office Discipline Referral. So you can see this is for the month of October, going back to the 2009-10 school year as a whole district. This isn't one specific building, but as a district. So you can see how our office discipline referrals have continually increased. We're down a little bit this year, which is awesome. And I hope to share some information about that in an upcoming board meeting in terms of the impact that our behavior intervention specialist is having. But as you can see, oftentimes our students with mental health issues are presenting behavioral challenges within the classroom that may or may not result in an office discipline referral. So definitely the need is still out there. So some specific action steps that we have been taking. So last spring, we actually formed Sauk County Mental Health Task Force, which is a collaborative effort between the Baraboo School District, the Reedsburg School District, and the Sauk Prairie School District. So we have met 3 times now. I have just a one-page handout of the 3 action steps that as a collaborative group we hope to take in each of our communities. So I will let you peruse that as that's coming around. One thing that we do have coming up here in Baraboo, which I'm really excited about, is we are doing a community screening of a movie entitled Paper Tigers. And I'm going to show you just a 2-minute trailer of what this movie is about. So I'm hoping that we can have a really big showing on November 21st at 7 o'clock.
every school in America, walking down every street in America. There are the kids that get labeled, get rid of them. They're nothing but trouble. Lincoln sits right in the heart of the most assaults, gang activity, truancy.
I did hear that it was the worst school you could ever go to.
Kids had knives, fights, absolute chaos.
He pissed me off and I threw a chair at him. And I told him I was going to kill him.
All of them were met down.
I was invited to go to a conference about complex trauma and what stresses the brain.
Standing to sitting as much as you need to throughout your workday.
The behavior isn't the kid. The behavior is a symptom of what's going on in their life.
My mom was like, get your shit and leave. She's the only thing I have. And for her to abandon me like that.
His coping mechanism was drinking a ton, smoking a ton.
I remember one night, I didn't want to be alive.
It hit me, and it hit me really hard.
You have to unconditionally love them, and you have to believe that their behavior might be out of their control.
I love playing guitar with several of these guys. I feel like that's almost as strong as anything we've ever done in class.
After that, he wasn't only a disciplined figure, he was a friend.
Half of the student body had over a 3-point GPA. To watch their confidence come back has been incredible.
I'm not by myself anymore. I got a team.
If I can do it, all of you can definitely do it.
It's not that I'm judging you. I know why you're smoking weed. I know why you smoke that. I know why you're in fights. You don't want to feel. I mean, that's the big challenge is I'm asking you to try feeling for a little bit because sometimes when you feel, it guides you in the direction that you should be going and not to where you are.
So it's a true story. It is based on Lincoln Alternative High School, which is located in Walla Walla, Washington. So the movie itself is just a little over an hour and a half, but they take 6 students out of this high school and they kind of follow their journey and how they are overcoming these mental health challenges and toxic stress and what the school is doing to help support these students. So if you can, please join us November 21st at 7 p.m. at the auditorium at Jack Young Middle School.
And Danny, with that screening, our mental health local providers are there to help provide resources to families.
There's another meeting before that too, correct?
Of this task force, no. Our next task force meeting is February 3rd.
You're talking about the parent evening.
Yes.
This is the parent evening, so the time is gonna be adjusted to start at 7.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
okay, and everybody's aware of that change in time.
It's coming, yep, Christina's working on the marketing of that.
Doug will show up at 6.
That's all right, we'll be there for you, Doug.
No pizza, nobody will complain.
Okay, so other action steps that we're taking as a district, so our school counselors are getting into staff meetings and just doing short professional development segments with staff on different mental health issues that they might be seeing in the classroom. Last spring, we had our social media campaign, and I don't want to drag this out too long, but I've got a couple of other short videos to share with you. And then this fall, we had our media coverage from Channel 27 about things that we're doing. We're also getting coordination of services with outside providers. We have a very powerful thing happening at our high school right now. We are in partnership with Aspen Family Counseling. They have offices both located in Portage as well as here in Baraboo. But we actually have one of their licensed counselors that is coming into our high school for a half a day a week and meeting with students in our high school. So it's offering that private therapy, but with the ease and of having those students not be pulled out of class, having parents to drive them over to Portage or drive them to Baraboo. So the therapist is coming to us, and it's really been a great resource for some of our students. So we're hoping to expand that into a couple of days a week, depending on the need. And so, but that is definitely up and running, and she is currently booked on the half a days that she's with us. She is booked that whole time. So. The other piece that we have done is I have had a psychologists from Apollo Counseling out of Reedsburg come and spend a morning with myself and our school counselors, and we have collaborated on cases on individual students. So we're getting that feedback and that input from an outside therapist in terms of things that we can do here at school to help support these students. Okay.
The Aspen Family Counseling, or Aspen Family Counseling visits, is that something that the families of the kids are paying for?
Yes, it is.
And what if they can't?
They bill insurance, so if they have insurance, they will bill the insurance. Otherwise, they have a sliding fee scale in terms of making it affordable to parents to the extent that they can.
So kids aren't slipping between the cracks for the lack of money?
No. They work out something with the parents.
Is there a component of that activity that goes beyond the one-on-one, since, I mean, from a therapeutic point of view, one-on-one, of course, is most important, but obviously certain themes come out.
Sure.
And ways in which maybe those themes could be utilized in a group setting, which I know has been effective as well.
Yeah, we currently don't have anything in place like that with this outside therapist, Peter, but we certainly have our school counselors and our school psychologists who are running small groups within our buildings, and so it's definitely reaching more students through that avenue.
Thank you.
Are our school psychologist positions fully filled? Or
They are, thank
they
goodness. We are lucky. We are, there are many districts across the state that have not been able to fill their positions, but we are fully staffed, so yes. Okay. All right, I'll come back and show you the video clips here in a second. The other thing that we are doing across the district is this summer we had a trainer come in and train a pretty large group of staff and administrators on restorative practices. And actually many of our administrators have woven the goal of implementing restorative practices into their building level goals for the year. So Lori and I have been collaborating on how we can continue to support the administrators in their efforts, but also to build the knowledge of our staff as well. So we're looking at a train the trainer model. So rather than having one individual come in to train a group of 20, what we would like to do, and it's way more cost effective, is if we send some people out to become trainers of restorative practices. So we're looking at targeting 4 individuals from across the district so that we can continue to build that collective knowledge and get that implemented across the district.
Is that all the way K through 12?
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Many of our classrooms are already doing what's called classroom circles, or you might hear it referred to as morning meetings, but it's a way to really build that collaborative and supportive environment within the classroom, and this, I'll show you a quick video that will highlight some of that. And then there's also conferencing, which I know at the middle school and high school, in terms of rather than having a traditional disciplinary system in terms of handing out a consequence, what they're doing is they're doing conferencing with the student, and this video will explain what that is about.
This school happens to be in Michigan, but it could be any other school anywhere.
Restorative justice is less a tool, really, and more a way of being in the world, a way of being with other people, a way of being in our society, which helps us to understand that our actions have an impact far greater than we might ever have imagined. And when we focus only on taking the punishment, as we do sometimes in traditional school discipline, we find that we lose sight of that connection. Whereas when we're focusing on how do we heal, how do we clean up the messes we make, and we all make messes. How do we heal those? How do we clean those messes up? That's when we find that we're able to really truly be in community. Restorative justice is a different approach from traditional school discipline. Under the traditional school discipline process, you look at a situation of misconduct and you ask, what rule was broken and what's the punishment? But restorative justice comes at that same situation of misconduct from a different angle. Restorative justice asks, what harm was caused by this incident, and how do we heal that harm? By changing the approach from punishment to healing, we have found that we have empowered students, we have opened the possibility up for education, and we have created much stronger community with the students who have used this process.
Fourth grader Sydney Littau has found that restorative practices can help. When friendship issues led her to her school's Peace Center, she used restorative justice to solve the problem.
I went to the Peace Center because I had troubles with my friends, and I wanted to be friends again, but I didn't know how to do it.
In early childhood, we talk about wanting children to internalize rules, which is why we tell them the reasons for rules. Well, beyond this is a rule and this is not a rule, when you get into the social aspect of life, there aren't, black and white rules. It's not this is right and this is wrong. It's very situational, so it's much more difficult for children to internalize what is appropriate socially and what is not appropriate socially. So giving children these tools at a young age and giving all children the tools is going to help them be more successful.
We all sat at the table, and we had a ball, and she would give it to the first person, and the first person would tell their story, and then they'd let everybody else go around, and nobody could talk when they didn't have the peace ball.
Growing up, there was nothing like this, when I was growing up, that I can recall. And for her to be able to be able to deal with conflict better, communication-wise, is so much better than, from when I was growing up, where, fights were involved and whatever. Not. This is so much better for her, and to learn the process.
After that, we went back to our classroom, and we actually made up a sign if we didn't want to talk to them because we were too mad. And so every time we don't really want to talk to them, we make up a sign that goes like that.
I think if we're careful about training children at an early age in terms of how to handle conflicts, how to handle stress, how to handle their emotional brain, so to speak, that we will have far better students at a middle school level, we'll have far more capable students at the high school level, and healthier adults, ultimately, later on down the road, who will be able to handle their conflicts in a peaceful, productive manner. And if we can feel a little bit more with our hearts instead of with our fists, we certainly would have a far better world for all of us to live in.
All right, a little bit on restorative practices. And then finally, looking at how we are addressing social and emotional learning. So this year at Al Bierman Elementary, we have a behavior interventionist position, and I hope to bring back some data for you at the next board meeting to show you what kind of an impact that position is having on that particular building. We also have individual student counseling, so our professional school counselors and our school psychologists see students on an individual basis. They also do small group counseling as well. They practice mindfulness with students, and in addition, we have a student and staff wellness day. So our student wellness day is coming up on March 1st. So that's going to be an entire day focused strictly to mental health and well-being. So we're very excited. We did that last year for the first time at the high school, and we'll be doing it again on March 1st. So I'm very excited about that. So that's kind of an update. I will share this presentation with the board, so you have the links to the video, but I do want to go back and I will just show you one video that can be found on our Facebook page. And we have over 7,000 views, which is awesome.
This was one of the award winners.
Yes.
For the plaque. So.
This is our video.
This is ours.
This
yeah.
is ours, yeah.
Closer and closer and closer to yourself. Mindfulness is important, I think, at all ages of life, to
push aside all of those excess thoughts and worries and to focus right now in the moment on yourself, on your thoughts, your feelings, and to kind of block out all of the excess, everything else that happens on in life. A lot of times students just become overwhelmed when faced with an issue that they haven't dealt with before. So it's my job to not only teach the students these skills, but also to teach the families those skills. It's okay that this is happening to me, and I'm just going to embrace it, and that's part of who I am. All of the attitudes towards school and towards family and towards their view of themselves as a person are all being built. And so I really want to prepare them and make them the best person that they can be. To be taught that at an early age will only set the foundation for hopefully a more mindful and happy future.
Video on that. So I will share this with you so that you have the links to those videos. Any questions that I can answer?
So the interventionist, you said that was at the high school or the middle school?
Nope, it's at Al Bierman Elementary.
Oh, Al Bierman,
Yeah.
okay. And that's the only elementary that has this particular position?
Right now.
Only school.
Yes.
Okay, and so then that's been going since the beginning of?
Beginning of the school year, correct.
Okay, all right,
Yep.
be interested to see how that's going.
Yeah, it's having quite the impact. We're very excited about the results.
We won't take a poll, but I think if you did, of the rest of the administrators in the room, there might be others that are interested in having that position. Right, Dave?
Just saying.
Just saying.
I'm good where I am.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. Brings us then to reports. Mr. Bilstein compiled a list of early graduates for 2017. That's for information purposes. Really no need to expand upon that unless somebody has a particular question. Thank you, Mr. Bilstein. Brings us then to personnel recommendations. The first is the approval of hire for a Jack Young Middle School speech and language clinician, and that is for Valerie Mahoney, and I would entertain a motion to that effect, and also in that motion to offer the hire for the position, motion to include paying her retroactive to her first day in the district.
I move to approve, including the retroactive pay.
Second.
Having a motion by Meering, seconded by Riley. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. And next is the approval of a long-term sub for Jack Young Middle School 6th grade social studies, Doug Francoeur. Entertain a motion to that effect.
Move to approve the long-term sub.
Second.
Having a motion by Meering, seconded by McNevin. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Brings us then to new business, the approval of disbursements. I turn to Chair of Finance, Mr. McNevin.
Move to approve. Second.
Having a motion by McNevin, seconded by Cummings. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Brings us then to B, discussion of the former administration building located at 101 2nd Avenue. Buildings, Grounds, and Transportation took up that topic at the meeting prior to this meeting. It is the wish of the Buildings, Grounds, and Transportation Department, after much discussion about what's left in the building and the district's need or lack thereof for the building, to offer, and I would entertain a motion to the effect that the board direct the administrative team to seek legal counsel for a two-step process, maybe only a one-step if it works out. The first step is to solicit bids for the building with the opportunity to reject any and all bids. And those bids would then come to the BG&T committee. The timeline would be discussed with council, and we'll keep the board apprised of the timeline for the sealed bids. And then the second part of the motion is if the sealed bid process does not secure a buyer of the building, Plan B would be to auction the building off. So I would entertain a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Second.
Having a motion by Mr. Coleman, seconded by Mr. Cummings.
We're doing both motions together?
Yeah.
Okay, that'll be good.
Is there a timeline as to number one taking place?
As soon as possible.
Okay, is there a timeline as to how long that will be left open before number two kicks in?
Well, my hope is that we will get some advice from legal counsel as to what the timeline should be. I think the board's, I mean, I've not heard contrary from anybody, but the board's decision is to get out from underneath the building as soon as possible. We are insuring the building, we're heating the building. We need to have staff stop there on a daily basis to make sure that the heating plant is operating correctly, and we're soon going to get into a position where we're going to have to be responsible for snow removal. So as soon as possible, I think, is the answer to that question, but I don't know the steps that may be involved in the solicitation of the bids, the publication that may be necessary. So that's why I'm asking for that to be left up to the conversation between legal counsel and the admin.
Right. Once I have opportunity to talk to legal counsel about your desires, I can communicate out to you then what that timeline would be.
Great.
Are there any issues about historical?
What we know, like Paul Walter contacted me from the National Historical Society, and what he wanted to make sure is that if we were to sell the building, that we would share with others that there's a tax credit because it is with the National Historical Register.
And if any board members have community members, whether they be community members in Baraboo or somebody from outside the community, I guess it doesn't really matter. If you have anybody approach you that is interested in the building, by all means, put them in contact with Dr. Miller, contact with Mr. Avery. If anybody wants to, prior to any of that process, see the building, I'm sure we can make arrangements to have that happen.
How are we promoting it as a sale? Are we leaving it in the hands of realtors per se, or is there, because it is a national piece?
Well, from the standpoint of the posting and how that needs to happen, we'll follow legal counsel. There was a discussion at Buildings, Ground, and Transportation brought up by Mr. Cummings to have our esteemed marketing and communications specialist put together a little historical context of the building. We do have some artifacts. I'm sure that maybe with a phone call to the Sauk County Historical Society, we could come up with a little bit more than what we already have, so that we can kind of paint a picture of what the building's history has been. And we can certainly, once we come up with the timeline, that can certainly be something that we can have on our website, or a link to it in any of the promotion that we do for the bids. Does that suffice?
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Brings us then to C, discussion from the ad hoc committee of the Board of the Modernized Community Campus Strategic Direction. And I'm going to turn to Mr. McNevin for that. But before I turn to Mr. McNevin for that, I want to thank Mr. McNevin in particular, Dr. Miller as well, for leading us to a position that we were in last Tuesday night to have the public vote on a referendum for our district. Not everybody was satisfied with the overall results of the election. I think it shows there's a continued divisiveness in the nation and in the county. However, the support that the district received for the school referendum was not as divisive as it has been in the past, with 58 to 42. So I want to thank and applaud the efforts that were made by Ms. Beam, Mr. McNevin, and Ms. Miller to get us to that point. So thank you, and with that, I'll turn it over to Sean.
Well, it's been a fun year, kind of busy. Things went well. I guess I want to echo those statements. It's really a testament to the board, to staff, and even to the student participation in the process. You know, the gathering of the information, learning about the buildings, going out. You know, our story is really easy to sell, to get out. We just got to get out and keep selling it. And I think the community really has embraced the district. This referendum was twice as much, and it got greater support than the last one. So I think our story is a good story. I think people believe in the process. They appreciate that. We even saw letters to the editors saying, that they came out, they talked to us, they surveyed us, they listened to us. So I support it. So it's exciting to know that the process that we've crafted is one that I think will continue to follow, obviously. As far as where we go from here, the hard part is just to begin. Is about to begin. Now it's taking the concept and making it a reality. And we start on the 29th.
Mm-hmm.
The ad hoc committee will be meeting with C.G. Schmidt and EUA, and that'll be more about process. Lori and I got the privilege of walking around Wednesday afternoon through the high school, talking to all the teachers and all the departments, and everybody's really excited to see the impact it's going to have on the environment. And so the 29th, what we'll do is we will lay out, we will get an understanding of the process that they use as architects, as builders. We know that this is going to take through August of 2018. So we have a design period, we have a big construction push the first summer, but then we back off because we're not running jackhammers during the school year, and then that second summer is the completion summer. The problem is so much planning needs to take place, and so much of it should be second summer, but some of it's going to have to be pulled forward. What we get done is going to be directly linked to how much our staff and students can tolerate. What can we do within the confines of the buildings during the school year? Because that's going to be we're touching just about every square foot.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to do is the committee's going to take that process. We're going to bring it back to the board, and we're going to update the board, continue like we just did through the rundown process. We're just going to flip the switch and just keep talking about the design process. Every meeting we'll continue doing updates. Sometimes they'll be few and far between and not much to talk about because the architects and the builders have a lot of work to do. But we still want to make sure everybody understands the timetable and where we're at.
That it?
Questions?
Anybody have any questions of Sean? Come on. I also want to thank Mr. Coleman. He joined the board in April and kind of got into the process midstream and got himself up to speed and was right there at every step to help the process along and be a part of it. And I just think that the board needs to feel a sense of accomplishment. Certainly everybody sitting in this room. It's not just us. It's not just Sean, it's not just Dr. Miller, and it's certainly not just the board, but there were a lot of people administratively that were involved in the process, building level involved in the process, and everybody needs to take a step back and look at what was accomplished, because having been part of a number of failed referendums and now having been part of 2 successful referendums, this feeling is a lot better than the other feeling. And there was a lot of work and time, and I have thought a couple times of asking Sean how many hours he engaged in this process, and I thought I would save him by not asking him how many hours he had involved in the process, because it was a long road, and as Sean said, it's going to continue, and we certainly hope to have the support of everybody that's sitting here and in this room and those that aren't here tonight as we move forward, because there will be a lot more work to be done and adjustments to be made and timelines to be met and
Opportunities for engagement.
Exactly. And the reason I stretched that out, I'm sorry, Peter, did you have something to say? The reason I stretched that out is we have nothing else on our agenda, so next.
I will make just a comment. I do think as we look to the future, and especially in the design phase, we have talked about this before, both in our previous referendum as well as in our current one. This conversation that I'm going to introduce has also been discussed on the county in terms of how do we position ourselves from an economic development position to be resonant to a demographic that everyone's competing for, young families, in our school system. And I think one of the things that will be a symbol of that forward-looking reality that will attract people is a serious discussion about solar as a part of this project, not to be shoved off the table without a serious consideration. If the research is accurate, and from everything that I have read, the way in which those pieces fit together, I'm talking about green energy, I'm talking about self-sufficiency, and I'm talking mostly about a symbol that says we are concerned about the environment, we are progressive. In addition to educating your children and doing all of these other things, we also want to ensure that our footprint is appropriate. And these things are very important to people looking for communities to come to, and I think we have an absolutely wonderful opportunity to establish the beginnings of that. And I want to encourage us to give serious consideration when we sit down with EUA and CG Schmidt to at least have the ability to move in that direction, so that the current technology, which makes it very simple and very flexible, is not overlooked.
Here's a great point, and actually, I should have Jim Langkamp come and do an update to the board, because he's spearheading a group at the high school that's focused on green and healthy schools, and they're applying through the state to be a part of that program. And so he met with Glenn and Dan O'Brien and myself to talk about how we can incorporate that work as we move forward with our referendum project. So I can bring that update to you so you can hear more about that.
But that work is not just of the adults, but it's also of our whole student body.
Correct. It engages our students, and it's a really well thought out program.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Any further comments, discussion from the board? Hearing none, I would thus entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you for your attendance.